What is up, ladies and gentlemen? How are you this fine Sunday morning? Uh, Welcome to another random comic books review with me, your host, Corey James. Thanks for joining me, as always. Every Sunday, you sit down with me and you grab your cups of coffee, keep nice and warm, and we talk about comic books. This week, I have the last maybe 6 issues of Samurai Jack. So I'm on a Samurai Jack that kicked this month. I drew him for a Let's Draw, and that just got me back into it. It's been a really long time since I've watched Samurai Jack. I was a huge fan of Samurai Jack on Toonami when I was younger. In the first run of it, and then they canceled it in the 4th season, and then there was a big old lull between that of no Samurai Jack for us. And 9 years later, IDW decided to start up a comic book series for Samurai Jack, which is really cool. I was really pumped about that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to subscribe to it until the last 6 issues. It was a 20-issue run. I got the last 6 issues. Accidentally, when I subscribed, I remember this, I accidentally subscribed for the variant covers too. So when they started sending them to me, they were sending me 2 at a time. I was getting both the regular one and the variant cover, and I was like, you know what, I'm not mad. And I just let that keep going. So I ended up getting 2 of the issues for the last 6 issues of Samurai Jack, because the alternate covers, the variant covers, were just beautiful. Like they were some of the best artwork ever. So it was nice. It's nice to have those in my collection. But this past week, I flipped open my Comixology app, and I noticed that they have all 4 volumes of Samurai Jack on there for free. And they have a new series that I didn't even know existed called Quantum Jack, where I guess he's skipping through different universes and different timelines and stuff. So I'm going to check that one out when I finish this main storyline. But yeah, like I said, I drew a picture of him the other day for a Let's Draw, and I jumped on. I ended up buying season 5. Okay, so yeah, so there was a 9-year lull with no Samurai Jack. They decided to start this comic book. It ran for 20 issues, and then they decided to start and the thing about this is, it kind of made me mad at the time. The comic book wrapped the story up. It had an ending. The show didn't have an ending. They canceled it before they ended it. So it was like, it was nice to finally get an ending, even if it was in comic book form. And then they just decide to come back out and say, okay, well, we're doing a 5th season of Samurai Jack, and the creator of Samurai Jack, which is Tavarsky, what's his name? Tartakovsky. Gendy Tartakovsky, that's his name. All right. So he kind of said he didn't count the comic books at all. They weren't part of his story. And that kind of sucks, because the creator of the comic book, Jim Zub, said he was a huge fan of the series, and he wanted to do it justice. And I believe that he did. I believe that he did a very, very good job at wrapping the story up and keeping it true to what the show was when I was little. And it kind of got pooped on, but that's usually what happens with comic books when they do something that they think, oh, well, they canceled the show, they're never going to do another show, let us finish it. And then they see how good it's doing, and we're in the modern era, and Adult Swim was interested, so he knew he could do more of a little bit of an adult like Samurai Jack was always on that edge, but he was only ever killing robots so they could keep it PG. They could say, this is for kids. Nowadays, they put it on Adult Swim. They threw some language in there. They threw some actual killing, a lot of blood. And don't get me wrong, season 5 is effing brilliant. Like, don't get me started on the musical score of the season. Like, holy crap, I have been listening to. They have the album. If you want to check it out, go on Spotify and check out Samurai Jack season 5's album on there. It is amazing. Like, the Catacombs track gives me chills. Like, when in episode 2 in season 5, when he's fighting the 7 daughters of Aku in the catacombs with the music playing, wow. Like, it is some of the best animation ever made with the most beautiful music and most intense music ever. But anyway, back to the comic book. So I found out that they have all 4 volumes on Comixology. So I decided to start reading them because I had only ever read the final chunk of it. I never got to read the beginning. It picks up basically right off where season 4 left off with him wandering. He's in the desert. So I'm only going to review right now Volume 1. I did read Volume 1 and 2, but I'm right in the middle of 3, and I'm going to read 4 and finish it again, even though I've already read it. And then I'm going to do a second review on the rest of it. And then I might do a review on Quantum Jack. I checked it out a little bit yesterday, and I'm not a huge fan of the art style, and I don't really know much about the story yet, so I'm not sure if I'm going to review it or not. Maybe I'll review it and I'll just tell you it's bad. I don't know. So the first volume is called The Threads of Time, which is weird because I think they have it wrong here on the Wikipedia. On the Wikipedia, it's called The Rope of Eons, but that's not what the first volume's called. It's called Threads of Time because the threads. All right, so a little backstory. So Samurai Jack's in the desert, and he goes to this like mage, this magical dude that lives in the middle of the desert, and he asks him. He says that he knows that this guy has knowledge of time travel, and the dude tells him this big story how when Aku came to power, these 4 magical beings that controlled the universe, when they first created the universe, they created the Rope of Eons, which is one long rope consisting of tons and tons of strands of time bound together as one. When Aku came to power, he broke the Rope of Eons and scattered the threads of time all over the place. So the dude tells him, basically, if you go around and find each thread, if you find one thread, this is cool, if you find one thread, it will kind of lead you to the next because they want to be together, which is a cool part of the story. So he sets out looking for the threads of time. Really cool story. The artist, Andy Soriano, nailed it. Like, yeah, you could complain. Like, here's one thing. The animation style for Samurai Jack that everyone knows and loves is there's no borders. There's no black lines on any of the... It's all cell animation. I don't know if it's cell animation. I don't know if that's the right word. It doesn't have any borders. Like, when you draw his face, there's no lines outlining his face. It's one solid color. And that's cool. It's the style of the animation. But when you're drawing a comic book, you're drawing it. Like, I know that from personal experience because I did draw him the other week, and someone said, did you draw him without the lines? And I said, no, I drew him with the lines because that's how I draw. It still looks like Samurai Jack. And that's the same thing with these comic books. I'll throw up you'll probably have already seen the issue pop up on the screen with of the Threads of Time. Beautiful artwork in this. He did it. He just nailed it. Everything that you want to see is there. The villains, each something cool that they did in this, most of the time, all the time, in the Samurai Jack series, the animation series, each story is a contained story. Each story is part of that journey. Once in a while you'll have a part 1, part 2 episodes, but most of the time they are confined to one episode stories, moving the story arc along as a whole. in this first volume, they decided to do something different. I think the artist said because he wanted people that were just maybe getting into Jack to not get confused. Like they can move along with the story. So the first whole volume is one story arc rather than each one being, and he still kind of breaks it up because each story is him going after one thread of time. So each thread is being held by a villain that he has to defeat. Sometimes not a villain. It's pretty cool. So like the first one, he goes in the desert and he finds this hole in the ground. He has to go. He falls down in, and he sees that this big spider monster dude has like woven the thread of time into his web, and he runs a cripes. I always forget words. A gladiator ring thing. So he tells Jack that he has to fight all his fighters, and if he does, he can leave. And he ends up beating them all, and he goes to fight the spider, and the spider's like, dude, you're too strong. Here's the thread. He gives it to him. So now that thread leads him and pulls him towards the next. Each one is a more creative, cool villain. We get the twins who have one thread, but they split them in half and they put them in their clothing so that they can fight in perfect uniform. So it really gives Jack a run for his money because he's fighting these two people, but they're not fighting as individuals. They're fighting as one, perfectly in sync with each other because of the the thread. Really cool. You get the one town where this lady queen has been ruling for hundreds of years and she never ages, but everyone else, and she treats everyone like garbage. And you find out that she has one of the threads and he has to get it back from her. There was one. Oh, and the really cool one that I thought was, it started out, he goes into this really nice, it looks like a Greek place, and there's this dude, kind of looks like Hercules, like ish, who welcomes him and feeds him and gives him a place to sleep and gives him a bath and stuff like that. And it's like, and the whole time, knowing and watching Samurai Jack in the past, you're like, this dude's about to flip on him. Like, what's this dude's ulterior motive? He seemed sketchy from the start, and you could kind of see that Jack was all, a little like, what's going on here? This is too good to be true. This guy's too nice. And then something happens, something explodes or something, I don't know, and then you see everything kind of fade away, all the beautiful Greek buildings and the people, and it's all in ruins. And the Greek dude starts to like cry, and he tells Jack that long ago, Aku sent his minions and destroyed their town, and he was supposed to be the people of the town's protector, and he failed, which is why he's so hurt by all this. And you find out that like he's been using a thread of the eons to revert the past back to make himself feel better by basically living in a fantasy world where it still exists. So he's not a villain, and Jack actually like kind of makes him feel better about it and says like your spirit can move on, you're a fallen warrior and all this stuff. And it's a really nice moment, really good artwork on that page when he floats up into the air and everything goes back to normal and he gets the thread. It was a cool, different story. That one really stood out to me because you expected him to be a villain, and he wasn't. He was a fallen hero who was basically a ghost living forever in his failure. And it was cool to see Jack absolve him and let him move on to the afterlife. That was a really cool one. So overall, I think after Volume 1, when Volume 2 starts up, you go back to the separate stories per issue, and but it moves along a lot quicker after that, it seems. When you have contained stories in each issue, you fly through them. I really liked Volume 1 because it was a ongoing story through the first 5 or 6 issues. It was different. I did really enjoy it. He ended up getting all the threads, and what did he do? Oh, I think his sword broke. I can't remember. Man, I'm blanking on the end of the story. Here, let me see if I can refresh my memory right quick. Huh. No, I can't. So if you want, rather than me spoil it, go check it out. It's on Comixology. It is free. And if not, you can probably get it online for pretty cheap at this point. Because they did come back with a season 5, I don't think anybody really cares about this story arc right here anymore. Because like I said, it finishes up. It ends the story of Samurai Jack. And then when season 5 came out, we went right back to the regular story and acted like the comic books didn't exist. So this has been a random comic books review of Samurai Jack's Volume 1. I will be back next week. I told you guys that I was going to do Cable, Blood and Metal, so I still will do that. I'm not sure when, and I would like to continue on with Samurai Jack here because I'm really enjoying the series and I'm flying right through it. I'm already halfway through Volume 3. There's a really funny issue in Volume 2 that brings back the Scotsman, everybody's beloved character from the second season, I believe, where him and Jack get turned into women by leprechauns. It's a pretty funny issue. It's just all around. It's really taken care of story. Like, it's not just thrown together. Like, these people actually thought about these stories and they drew them very well, and it feels like it's part of the original animated series. So, yeah, if you get a chance, check it out. Thanks for joining me. I've been Corey James, your host. Have a good rest of the Sunday and a great rest of the week. Later.